Business. This is Lynette, your host of the podcast. I have some exciting news to share with you. One is we have just dropped our freebie for the month of February. So each month we will be dropping a new freebie for you, something that will elevate your joy, your health, and your wealth. So be sure to visit the website today and sign up on our mailing list to receive your freebie. Again, that website is www.wocib.org. Also, if you go to Amazon, you're now able to purchase our newly dropped journal. It's your 90-day success journal that walks you through 90 days of journaling, focusing on your business, focusing on your growth, setting goals and reaching them, and then looking back to see how far you've come. So be sure to visit Amazon. The best way to find our journal is to search for my name, Lynette Cottrell, Linnette Cottrell, and you will be able to purchase our journal. Also, be sure to visit our website and check out the companion workshop we have going on with the journal. Be sure to book your slot so that you can participate in your growth. Hello, and welcome to the Women of Color in Business Global Podcast, where Black women entrepreneurs come to get inspired and get free. I am your host, Lynette Cottrell, and here we are passionate about letting you know you are not alone. You are supported in this unique business journey you were brave enough to step into. We bring to you global, inspiring stories to ignite your business, valuable resources and trainings, and impactful solutions for your total well-being. Remember, there is only one you, and the world needs what you have been chosen to offer. What we know for sure is a world that supports the joy, health, and wealth of Black women is the only kind of world to live in. So join us as we jump into another great episode of the Women of Color in Business podcast. So hello, Women of Color in Business audience. We are here with another amazing Black woman entrepreneur to share with you her journey and her business. So we will begin and jump right in and let her start by letting us know who she is, introducing herself and her company.
Well, Lynette, thank you so much for reaching out to me and giving me a platform to talk about what I do. I wear many hats. I'll start by saying that. A lot of them are under the umbrella of real estate. So my main hat is I'm the founder and CEO of Asset Management Consulting. And what we do is we provide branding consultation services to real estate developers. So we have a mission to elevate the untold yet worthy stories of real estate development. And that stemmed from me just being in the real estate industry over 20 years and seeing my peers and my counterparts' stories not being told as much as other folks. So that's kind of like where that business started. And, I'll get into that a little bit further. But, basically we're storytellers, and we do that through social media, through building websites, branding, marketing, collateral, et cetera. And, prepping folks for their conversations with, media outlets, radio shows, podcasts, getting them ready. So it's interesting that I'm on this side of it because I'm helping somebody prepare for something like this. But in a nutshell, that's what that company does. So that's one hat.
Okay.
The other hat that I wear is I co-own a title abstracting firm with two Black women that I worked for 15 years. And so
Oh,
they saw an opportunity to expand on their title business, and they offered, that role to me to become co-owners with them, and, instead of just an employee. So even though I stepped down from working with them, I still co-own that business with them. So, they saw something and we want to take you along on this journey. So that's what they did. So that's two hat. And three hat is I'm an emerging real estate developer. And that's the same kind of scenario. Very male dominated industry. And so one of my peers, they were on a development project and they said, you know what, we need more women in this space. Come join me on this. So right now we're in the middle of building 20 townhomes for sale in Anacostia, Washington, D.C. So yeah, that's my first real estate development project that I'm on. So it's a lot of nerves. It's been an interesting, very long journey, by the way. But I'm learning a lot in the process. So all that to say, yes, I wear a lot of hats, but they're all in the same industry. So they
right.
all, intertwine with each other.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. So what was what sparked you to first get into real estate?
That's an interesting story. This was not the journey that I saw for myself, if I'm being honest. When I was in college, I wanted to be a sports and entertainment lawyer. Totally different field.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really into sports. There was a show out called Arliss, and it just fantasized the whole industry. So I was going down that path. And of course, you have to go to law school, right? And so
Mhm.
graduated from college, and I got my first job in the industry doing marketing, sports marketing. And I was immediately thrust into that industry at a level that most people don't get their first time in the industry. I was
Mhm.
working for a corporation that had the naming rights, for the Washington Wizards. Long story short, this is when Michael Jordan came back into the league as president of basketball operations. So there was all eyes on our city. It was a crazy time. I got to see, all things involved in the sports industry, but that was short lived. That was only like a 2-year stint
Mm.
because, the CEO of the corporation, I'll remain nameless, ended up going to jail. We were like the second Enron, right? It was this whole situation. So I ended up getting laid off. I was a new mom at the time. And my cousin's old basketball coach was looking for somebody to come in and work with his real estate title company. And he wanted somebody that didn't know anything about the industry at all,
Oh,
so he could
wow.
train and mold somebody, to be in the industry. So that was my first foray into the real estate industry. And I stayed. I mean, I just been here ever since.
Oh,
So it wasn't because
wow.
I was seeking to be in it. I was thrust into it. And so
Mm.
obviously I like it. I'm still here, 20 years later. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That is so interesting. How
Yeah.
you got from A to B. So you
I
fell in
still I
love with
still
real
scratch
estate.
my head. I did.
Okay.
So, so real estate was not the path that I was on. It was by happenstance. But once I got in it, any industry that you're in, you start to research it. And in my research, what industry am I really in? I started realizing that so many families have generated so much wealth connected to real estate. They've created dynasties, they've created legacies, they've been able to give back in a big way. And
Mm.
all of that stemmed from their start in real estate. I mean, a lot of
Mm.
people tell the story, well, not even a story, but they ask the question, is McDonald's a food company or is it a real estate company?
Uh,
And the real answer is that they're a real estate company because they have so much real estate that they've built wealth on. It's not from selling hamburgers. So just learning about the industry and what it can provide going forward is what really made me fall in love with it.
Okay, I love that. I love that concept of people have built so much wealth and left legacies, through real estate. Wonderful. So so your journey from first your college career to thinking, I'm going to be a lawyer to going into the real estate arena, did you ever, be prior to that, see yourself as an entrepreneur? Was that something in your mind that you wanted to be at some point in your life? Or was it just totally a different turn for you completely?
Yeah, completely. It was, I mean, being an entrepreneur was almost like a fantasy. It's like something you saw on TV, right? It just, everyone is raised differently. And, I was raised by really hardworking people, but they were hardworking for somebody else, right? It was
Mm,
never, I can't remember a time where we had conversations about even them having dreams of opening a business. So I did have some like family members that are, once or twice removed that were entrepreneurs, but my immediate family, my mom and dad, my
right.
grandparents, they were not entrepreneurs. So sometimes you got to see it to believe that it could be you as
Yeah.
well. So my aspirations weren't to be a business owner. They were just to work really hard in a fun industry.
Right.
That's really what my aspirations were. And it's interesting because now that I look back like, did I really do this? Like, it's almost like that imposter syndrome people talk about
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
It's like, did I really do this? And you got to catch yourself because sometimes you go down this rabbit hole where you're like, well, I hope the bottom doesn't fall out
Mm,
because I don't know, was this really for, the path for me? I didn't see anybody doing this. So, all that to say, just because you don't have necessarily a perfect example of entrepreneurship, there's still like qualities that you can pick up growing up that can help you, in the entrepreneurial path. So when I was growing up, my parents really encouraged me to be in the arts, take ballet, take tap, take piano, take violin,
uh-huh.
drama, stuff like that. So that really honed into my creative brain, that side of me. So I use that creativity now in my business because my business is marketing, it's branding. So it's a lot of creativity. So they still encourage me. It's just in a different, in a unique way.
Got it. Got it. I love that you shared what you just shared because that's very important. A lot of times we think we have to start off a certain way or have a certain background or have certain things around us to jump into this entrepreneur. I say it's a very brave space. Anyone who comes into this is a brave person. So to be brave enough to take the step to start your own business, and as you spoke to so eloquently, sometimes we stop and we think and we look back and we wonder, okay, how did I get here? Right? Because we were so busy doing it and we were so busy in it that when we pause to step back and look at it, it can be scary sometimes. That realization that, this is the path that I'm on and I don't know where it's going to end. I don't know how far it's going to go. And those fears can creep into your mind. And I think you are just a great example of sharing these details because to look at where you started from and the different businesses you are involved in now, someone on the outside looking in would be like, oh, I can't do that. She must have had this or she must have had that already, or she must have, had all these other things set up. Someone like me can't do that. So I love that you are sharing with us these details and the realness of it that, yeah, I'm here, but I still have those moments when I sit back and look at it and I think, okay, how long is this gonna last? So it's not succeeding without doubt or without fear. It's succeeding in spite of the doubt and the fear.
That's
And
right.
that's something that I really want us to internalize as Black women entrepreneurs, that you're not waiting till all the fear goes away. You're not waiting till the doubt doesn't creep in. You are just going to keep continuing on anyway. That's part of the game. It's It just is part of the game. But you just keep going on. That's not a sign that you need to stop, that you're doing the wrong thing. It's just part of the game. Just keep going.
It,
Wonderful.
it really is. And, you know, as Black women, that fear, society, it brings it on even more,
Yeah.
right? So we have our own internal fears about, you know, is this for me? And then sometimes society says, you're right, it's not for you, right? So we're fighting against ourselves, and we're fighting against, you know, outside forces. So like you said, it takes a lot of bravery
Yes.
to, you know, work for yourself, be an entrepreneur. But once you get over that hump of, you know, that fear of, should I take that leap? Should I take that leap? Once you get over that hump, you might as well keep going, because that's the hardest part, getting over that initial, you know, leap. And I, you know, I'll share a story. I had been thinking about taking that leap for a little while, because everyone's, you know, home, pandemic, 2020, reevaluating their lives, right? And I came to the realization that I felt like it was time to take the leap, because I had started my business technically in 2016 as a side hustle,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had my 9 to 5, and then my business was like a little side hustle, 5 to 9, right? And the reason I did that, because I'm in the DC area, so very government influenced. And so what I would see a lot of times is people would work in the government for a long time, and then instead of you know, they would retire, and then they would come back as consultant, and then the government would become their client, right? So I saw that, right? I saw that all the time. So I said, well, let me just set up this entity, call myself a consultant. So whenever that time comes, you know, I'm ready. So, you know, first year doing that, I probably made $500, you know, so what you did, right? But it was, I had to encourage myself. I had to tell myself, stop giving away free information, stop giving away free advice. You have something to share, you can make a business out of it. You know, I had to talk myself into it. So after being at home, pandemic, you know, reevaluating in 2021, I finally said I was gonna take the leap. And it's almost like I felt something pushing me the day that I was going to resign from my job, because that fear started to kick in, and my boss started to leave. She went to the elevator, and literally I felt something push me and said, go say something to her right now, or you are not going to have the chance to do it again. And I went, tears, crying, and she was like, I don't know what you're crying. This is somebody I worked for and has encouraged me for 15 years. So I don't know what you're crying about. I'm happy for you. Go do your thing. And so all that fear, like, you know, diminished. So it's great. The journey is great. It's scary, but the journey is great. It's been great.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful story. So what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges in starting your businesses?
You know, it's always about capacity for me. Making sure that I have enough capacity to provide the best service for my clients, right? Everybody wants to gung ho, get, you know, go right, full steam ahead, but you can hit a wall doing that. And I actually learned that the hard way. I remember I was invited to do like a presentation for this group. And after the presentation, I must have did a really good job, because then all of a sudden everybody there wanted to work with me. And I did not have capacity to work with everybody. So I had to turn away business, right? So that the biggest lesson in that was making sure you have your systems in place, right? Before you try to scale, instead of just full steam ahead. So that was, you know, that would be one of the biggest challenges, trying to balance, like, how many people do I need to work to, you know, give the best service and to make good profit margins, right? We're not in this for, it's not an internship. We're not trying to do this for free. We're trying to be profitable in our business. So it's like that margins balance, and how many people does it take to fulfill the client's needs and do it at a high level, right? Because I find a lot of times people will just take on everything that's thrown at them, and everything is half, you know, half done. And I've just never been I've never been that person. I want to lead in excellence, right?
Right.
The women that I worked for 15 years, that was the motto: strive for excellence every day, right? So that's
Mm.
ingrained in my head to, be excellent. So I think that's, in a nutshell, one of the biggest challenges is that balance between
Okay.
capacity and taking on clients. Yep.
I love that. That's a very good lesson because you're right. A lot of times we're so hungry for to make the sale, to get the business, that sometimes we even feel like we have how dare we say no, right? This is an opportunity. If an opportunity comes, I'm supposed to take them all, right? Wrong, right? You have to make
Right.
sure, to your point, you have to make sure you can give your best service to whomever you're attaining as a client. So as opposed to having too many clients where everyone gets just a little bit of you, you have to be bold enough to make that decision and be aware enough to know that every opportunity is not yours. Right.
Right. And
You're,
and at the end of the day, the opportunities that you say yes to, you want to provide the best service so that they can say to the next person, yes, I worked with her. They did an amazing job and you should too. Like, you don't want to have a bad reputation. I'm in
right.
marketing, I'm in branding, I'm in storytelling. You don't want to have a bad reputation. That's hard to dig out of that. So I'd
Mm,
rather just say no. And sometimes people were offended by my no's, but I had to protect, my team and what we were able to produce. So a
right.
lot of lessons learned in that.
Right. That's a good point. So how do you say no? How do you say no when someone gets offended by, because sometimes we can be people pleasers. We want to say yes to everybody, or we feel like if we say no, it's going to come back around to bite us later. So, how do you say no and not feel like you've jeopardized your position as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an honest no, right? It's an honest, that we're a small boutique firm and we have capacity limits because we are small and we want to provide the best service for you, right? So you're putting it back on the client saying it's because we want to do what's right by you. So this
Mm,
might not be the best time to do that, but the future may open up so that we can do that. Because I've always circled back to some clients that I've said no to and said, basically, thank you for your patience,
right.
right? Because at the end of the day, they'll still be able to see the work that I'm doing, and want to work with us in the future. So a lot of times, folks that I work with, it's not necessarily this immediate, I have to have this done right now kind of thing. They're kind of exploring the space of, branding or rebranding their product. So it's not always like this urgent thing. I've never
Right.
faced that where there's this urgent thing where I'm like, it's urgent and sorry, no, I can't help you. It's can't help you right now, but I would love to when our capacity opens up and I'll circle back to you then. And so, they might be offended at the moment, but when I circle back and say, all right, now it's your turn, it's like, all right, here we go. So, I haven't had, a situation where, my name is ran through the mud because I said, no, I think people respect you in a way when you frame it that way, where you're saying,
Right.
it's because I want to provide the best service, right?
Right.
I don't want to just take your money,
Mm,
right? Because, a lot of people, they want to get value for the money that they spend. And I'm working with a lot of other small businesses, right? So I value, how they spend their money too. So I'm just, I'm not here to just take anybody's money. So I
right.
think they respect that.
Yeah, sounds good because that speaks to, I want to do the best thing for you and for me, right? I
Right.
just don't want to just take your money and put it in my pocket. I want to do what's best for both of us.
That's right. Win-win.
Hmm. So as being a Black woman entrepreneur, what is something that you wish was available to you as a business owner?
That's interesting. Um, because currently I feel like I have something available to me that I wish I may have had earlier. So
Okay.
I'm in a group called the Book Collective, which is a sisterhood of women, Black women entrepreneurs. Many of them are the top 1% in the nation of, entrepreneurs. And it's a community that I wish everybody had, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's women in business, some that have made, $30 million, some that are just starting out. So you get the different aspects. It's a supportive community. We're God girls, right? So it's like women that also are strong in their faith and they're entrepreneurs as well. Those kind of tribes, somebody you can run ideas off of or learn from mistakes, them sharing mistakes that they've made because you don't have anybody to talk to about
Right.
stuff like that. So I would say just, and we come together and we're trying to go after, bigger contracts and, we're trying to knock doors down together because we're stronger together. Right. So I
Right.
think that when I say, what do I wish that I have? Well, I feel like I have it now. So
Got it.
I wish I had it earlier.
Right.
So
Got it.
exactly. Because it's nothing like being in a tribe of women that literally understand what you are dealing with,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
hard. It's not like knocking people that are not business owners, but it's hard to have those kind of conversations because they're like, you're a business owner. Like your life should be great. Like you should be
Right.
happy. And it's like, wait, no, you don't understand.
Yes.
This
Yes.
thing is
It
hard.
is. It
This
is.
is hard.
It is not for the weak.
It is not for the weak. Managing people, managing finances, forecasting. How are we going to survive, for 1 year? How are we going to survive for 3 years? Like keeping up with all the licensing and taxes. I mean, there's layers to this thing,
Yes.
right? And if you're not in it, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. So you're not going to have a lot of sympathy for me, which is cool because I don't expect you to even understand what I'm dealing with. So being in a community of Black women, right? That's a
Right.
very unique community.
Yeah.
Our struggles are very unique.
Yes, they
So,
are.
having that community has definitely been a blessing. I'm glad it's here. It didn't
Right.
come in the beginning, but I'm glad it's here.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's beautiful. That's the passion behind why I started this podcast because I wanted to have a place where I could conversate with other Black women and give information to other Black women who are starting a business or been in business for years, but just feel like they're on an island by themselves because, like you said, there's not a lot of people around them where they live doing the same thing they're doing that can understand. So definitely I understand that. So when we talk about the business where you do the storytelling for businesses in real estate, what is the top problem that you solve for them with your business?
Elevating their stories, right? Because a lot of times it's their counterparts' stories that are getting told, ahead of theirs.
Right.
So a lot of my clients, they're doing amazing things. They're not just building buildings. They're job creators, right? They're building communities for our families, right? A
Yeah.
lot of them are affordable housing developers. There's stories within stories in that.
Mm,
It's not about just putting up those bricks and opening doors,
right.
right? A lot of them have, programs that are built into their buildings where they're helping, workforce development, financial literacy, you know, holiday gift giving, because a lot of the people in their communities, you know, maybe low income or middle income. So there's a lot of stories that come out of that. A lot of their residents build jobs, build businesses within those communities because they found a place that could be supportive of it. So I'm thinking, not that I'm thinking, but I know that that's what I'm solving for, elevating those stories that just don't get told.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah,
And what medium do you
absolutely.
use for that? So like if we wanted to see some stories of, companies you've worked with, where would we go to find those?
Well, I mean, I have my website where I talk about, things that I've worked on, services, things like that. And then you can see, we have links to maybe there's a groundbreaking we did or a ribbon cutting we did, or, some behind the scenes that we did where maybe a client was interviewed by one of the bigger media publication. So we're a lot of like behind the scenes
Got it.
kind of folks. And that's something that has also been kind of a challenge because our job is to elevate other people's stories. So a lot of times people don't even realize it's us doing it. So we have to do a better job of saying, raising our hand and say, yes, we were the ones that helped them do that, right? They see this elevation from, our clients, but they don't realize, they think it's somebody in-house, doing that work, but it's been outsourced. So that was one of the things that I had to do, and most business owners have to do, is take a pause and work on their business instead of in their business. Right. So one of the things I did, like, I think it was last year, I was like, okay, we got to take a pause. We need to revamp our website and talk about what we've done. Because I've just had trouble with, and I admire people that can do this because I think it's bragging, right? But some people, no, you're saying, look, I've been given a gift, right? I'm operating in my gifts, and I'm going to show you how I've been doing it. Go to our website, go into our social media. We're doing a lot better of showcasing, work that we've done for our various clients.
Right. That's a very good point, because a lot of times you're correct. We're so busy getting it done for others that we don't stop to think, okay, I need to promote myself too in the meantime to keep this cycle going, right? And to your point, when we see a commercial or see an ad or see, different information about different companies, we really don't know who was behind it. We don't know who made sure the set was right, made sure that, everyone was there to get the makeup, the lighting, and all that done, or who proposed that it should be done this way, right? So
absolutely. That's my tribe, right? I love the creatives because I know they're the ones that are behind the scenes getting it done.
Yeah.
Right. That's who I love, those folks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good stuff, good stuff. So in your course of being an entrepreneur, can you think of something that's been impactful for you that you learned from either someone older or someone younger?
Wow. I would say it's been both. But I would say impactful, like my biggest influence have definitely been my parents, right? Particularly my mother, because she worked in real estate as well, but through the government. So she was basically what you call an investigator for landlord and tenant affairs. And so she would try to help resolve when landlords and tenants had issues with each other and help them come to a resolve. And so growing up, I saw her take that on personally, right? It was more than a job. All of a sudden, I see her buying groceries for people. Sometimes y'all can come stay with us until you find the next place. Like, she was that kind of person, right? And so, a life of service. My dad, same. They just lived, and they're both gone now, but they lived a life of service, and they had that, had so much impact on me. Showing me that it's bigger than us, right? And so, and looking outside of ourselves, right? And so I think that kind of translates into what I do now, because I'm lifting up others, right? I'm lifting up others' stories. Like, I always want to be in the background. Just being right here, right now on the podcast with you is just, it feels odd to me. I'm the, I call it a BTS girl, behind the scenes girl. So I think that, that has definitely had the greatest impact. And, that also, I have another hat. I started a nonprofit called Building London Bridges, and kind of along the same lines of what my business does is, we elevate the, stories of real estate and real estate development. My nonprofit is we shine light on other, like, smaller nonprofits that don't necessarily get the shine that the bigger nonprofits do, right? But they are doing really amazing, impactful work. And, I feel like the more visibility that they get, I can connect them to, my network of people that, love to give and fund. And so they're not just writing automatic checks to the bigger organizations that are getting money anyway, because they have the most visibility. Right. And so I've been influenced in that way to care about others deeply, the last, the least, and the left out, right? It's just,
Okay.
it's a, it's a humbling thing. It's a position of service. And I try to, incorporate that in everything that I do, whether it's work, whether it's nonprofit, personal, what have you. So I think that's the greatest impact. And then, that's, older generation. I always like sat at the feet of, grandparents, like, because I was like, I'm an only child. So I was always like the only kid around a lot of,
Yeah, adult.
yeah. So I feel like all that wisdom, right? That I was just being nosy. They would tell me, mind your business, stay out of grown folks' business. But I couldn't help it because I was just fascinated
Yeah.
by their storytelling, right? It
Yeah.
translates into what I'm doing now. The older generation, they were the best storytellers,
Yes. Yes.
the best,
Yes.
because they could talk. You could close your eyes and you can see everything that they were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's missing now, right? So I try to bring that into what I do. And as far as like the younger generation, I mean, they do things differently. They show you, they challenge you to do things differently. Everything is not status quo. I've got a son that's, in his 20s. I mean, they can teach you a lot. And, I encourage them to speak their piece. Like, don't muffle yourself. Don't feel like you're too young to have impact. The world is changing, right? And
Right.
they see the world from a different lens. And so they have a totally different perspective. So I encourage them to, like I said, speak their piece because, we can learn from them too.
Got you. What would you say you found to be your most useful business tool? When we think about entrepreneurs, getting started in the space, most of the times we start with the free workshops. We start with looking online for how to get your business started. As you progress through the years, you kind of run out of that free stuff and you have to begin to invest with yourself because you get to a different level in your business. So at this point in your business, what do you find to be your most useful resource as an entrepreneur?
For the first time, I invested in coaching. Yeah, so absolutely. I think that when you get to a certain stage, the free resources start to run out, right?
Mm.
There's not that many workshops that you
Right.
can, because it starts to repeat, right?
Yes.
And also you have mentors, right? You always going to have some, if you have some, you're blessed if you have good mentors. But for the first time, I decided to invest in myself actually this year and to get a business coach. And a lot of the mentors have told me to do just that. And a business coach, besides like providing, advice and things that you need to be looking at, and this is how you scale, and just encouragement, all around. A good coach is going to help you drill down. A good coach is going to say, all right, let's look at your profit and loss statement. Do you know how
Uh,
to read this?
mm,
Right? Um, let me help you forecast for years to come. Like some of the things unless you go to business school, you don't get taught like these certain, kind of things. So I think investing in a really good coach that's going to be intentional about not just operation side,
uh,
but the financial side of your
mm,
business. Because that's where it could get a little hairy,
mhm.
right? Especially if you don't necessarily have a background in entrepreneurship or, raised in that, type of environment. That could be kind of the scariest part of it, right? Like
Right.
how does money even work? Especially
Right.
when you're in a business. I mean, you're moving from, I don't know. A lot of people talk about Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he talks about the ESBI quadrant and
Right.
you're an employee, and then you move to the S where you're self-employed, but you're still an employee, just employed by yourself. So you just
Yes.
work for yourself. You're still trading time for money. So a good coach is going to show you how to move from being self-employed to being an owner of a business, an owner of systems,
Yes.
right? So you're no longer trading time for money. You're literally running a business.
Mm,
um, and a good coach that understands what to do to show you what to do with your money when you make it, how
Oh,
to invest it, right? You're
mm,
not in this not just to make money. You're in it to, create legacy, build wealth, generational wealth, right? So, investing in coaches that can teach you, the bigger picture of being a business owner, I think has been very helpful for me trying to get to that next stage. Because I still, feel like even though I have a small but mighty team, I still feel self-employed because I'm trading time for money. If I don't work, we don't make money.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that'll weigh you out.
You're
So
right. Right.
trying to
That's a
trying to get
great
past
point.
that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a great point because most of us that start this journey as Black women entrepreneurs, we started as first of all, it's a side hustle. We started as a side hustle because we're doing it while we're still working a full-time job, right? To work ourselves
That's my
out of
story.
that job. Then we may flow into a phase where we're still the only employee of the business, right? We're doing everything. We are the marketer, the promoter, we're the networker, we're the finance person, we are the person coming up with the what's the next step, what's the next product we're going to do. We're doing everything. But to your point, that's solopreneur, self-employed, you're still not free yet. So the goal is to, when I would advise people when you're starting out thinking about being an entrepreneur, the goal is to plan to have a system where you can go on vacation for 30 days or 60 days and everything is still running,
That's
right?
right.
I heard that from T.D. Jakes one time. He said, if you're not building a business where you could leave it and go do something else for a month or 2 months, you don't have a business. You have a job,
Mm-mm.
right? You're still
That's right.
self-employed.
That's right.
So that's the goal. So to your point, you said having a coach or when looking for a coach, think about finding someone that can help you in those type of areas, right? Not just the operational things, not just the, keep on and, cheering you on, but who can take you to a level of information that you're not aware of. You don't know how it works. You're learning something new. You should always be learning something that
Yes.
will expand your business and free up your time more. That should be the
Yes.
goal. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Wonderful. So what would you say you consider to be your superpower?
Ah, I would say, I feel like I have a few.
All
Um,
right, come on.
but
Come on, Tessa.
you gotta age before you start to, really realize that, right? And
Yeah.
so I would say one of the things is I'm starting to call myself a futurist because I feel like I see ahead, right? I feel like that's one of my superpowers. I don't know if it's because I'm constantly trying to educate myself. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly, evaluating trends. And so because of that, I could see ahead. And I'm like one of those, well, did you know? Well, did you know? I'm one of those people, when I'm
Uh-huh.
talking to folks. Has a downfall to it because sometimes I can come across as like the doom and gloom kind of girl because I'm just trying to get people to, maybe adjust or pivot because I see what's coming down the pipe. So I'm
Got it.
like, do you see what's coming down the pipe? Let me help you see it so you can adjust. And sometimes that can come across as doom and gloom.
Right.
One thing. And another thing is, you know, you got to live in the present, right? So since I'm always thinking ahead, I'm like, I got to pull myself back. Like, can you just enjoy the moment right now instead of thinking about a week out? Like, take a pause on that. So I think that's one. I think another is I consider myself an empath. I feel others how others are feeling. And so
Uh-huh.
if I can pick up on someone feeling down or, I just can pick up on stuff like that. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm the one that's always trying to like lift somebody up or encourage them or
Mhm.
inspire them or, brighten their day, be a cheerleader,
Uh-huh.
to them. So I think that's, another superpower of mine. Um, well, I guess, those are the two main ones,
Okay.
right? So looking towards the future, having vision, and inspiring and uplifting others.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, where do you see your business? Now, you have three businesses, correct?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
So I've had, my main business, is the branding on the real estate side. I think the other one, I'm more like a silent partner. So I just, when it comes to like financial stuff, making decisions around that, but like operationally, it's not much I need to do. And then, the emerging developer building townhouses that I was talking about. So
Okay.
yeah, I would say three.
Okay. So let's look at the storytelling business. What do you see yourself in that business, say, in 5 years from now? Or have you looked forward that far?
You know, it's interesting because when I look, because like I said, I'm always looking towards the future, right?
Yes.
I have this dream really of being full time in my nonprofit,
Okay.
full time philanthropy. Like that's, and I shared the story of my mom, in service. Like that's where my heart is,
Yeah.
right? But it's
Yes.
that grind and that hustle and that survival. You're like, no, I have to have a business, and da 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 da. So my business could be, my nonprofit could be my business's number one client one day. Like that's what I would see because I envision like building. This is still all under real estate, right? But I envision building like this community where families can come and heal because I've seen, particularly in my community, a lot of broken families,
Mm.
right? And that could be because of, drug use, incarceration, whatever the situation is. I've seen a lot of families be broken behind that. And I just envision like creating this community where, let's say for example, one parent was incarcerated and they
Mm-hmm.
come back, and so
Mm-hmm.
they come into this community, so they're not immediately together because that could cause strife, or they don't know how to, one parent's been gone for a while, so
Right.
the other parent has set up all these systems, and then the other parent comes back and comes in and disrupts. So it's like ease them back in together, creating this
Mm.
community. It's almost like mom's on this side, dad's on this side, and in between is counseling sessions and financial literacy classes that you take, and you do all these things till you get to a point where it's okay, now it's time for y'all to come back together
Ah,
as a family. So when I look ahead, I guess I'm looking all the way ahead,
gotcha.
right? And that
Gotcha.
could be, to my detriment because, I should be thinking about my business, but, my business wise, of course, I wanted, like I said, I wanted to be self sufficient, right? I
Right.
want to be
Right.
able to, promote the people that are working for me now to run it,
Right.
right? So that's 5 years out, like that's what I see. But I'm looking at 10 years out, what I ultimately,
Right. Right.
want to do. And I think it all ties in together.
Mm-hmm.
It's still real estate. It's
Mm-hmm.
still, that passion is still storytelling. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it could be storytelling around families healing
Right.
and it being possible, you know. So, I hope that answered your question. It might have been a
Yes.
roundabout way of,
No, no,
of
no.
answering that, but
You
yeah, that's
did.
what,
That's a
when I see my
beautiful
future, I see
concept.
my dreams coming true.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
I
a
believe in it. I
beautiful
believe in it.
concept. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great. Great. So when you think about well, being a Black women entrepreneur, we are especially in today's society, fed so much the message of grind, 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 and go, go, go. How do you balance that? Because one of my passions is that if we're not taking care of our wellness, our well-being, what good is the money, right?
That's right.
If we get the money and our health is at the poorest it could be, we can't go anywhere to enjoy the money. Um, So what do you do in terms of taking care of your mental and your physical well-being as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that it took me some time to learn because, again, I was raised by really hardworking people,
Mhm.
right? And so, unfortunately, I think my dad did a better job of it than my mom and just taking time out for themselves, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, my mom didn't, she didn't vacation a lot,
Mm.
things like why is she she's spending money to make sure that I get to vacation, I get to do fun things, but I don't see her doing it for herself, right? And
Mhm.
so I had to like for myself learn how to kind of break out of that mindset, right? Because life is short,
Yes.
and so I'm also a mom, and I think it was once my son went off to college and I was home with just me
Uh-huh.
and getting to know myself that
Yeah.
I got to a point where I said, you done good, girl. Like calm down. You don't have to do all this hustle and grind. You got your son to college.
Yeah.
It's a good kid. Take some time for yourself. So that for me that could be simply as going to a museum in the middle of the day. Like I really, really love art. That's like my checkout method.
Oh,
So I love, checking out and just resetting. And again, I'm in the creative space, so a lot of times that'll re-inspire me. It's almost like writer's block. I'll like hit writer's block, so I need to get re-inspired. So I check out by, go visiting museums, looking at art. Um, Going to eat something a nice meal. I mean,
uh-huh.
people underestimate the power of that tea time. Like
Yes.
being a girly girl, right?
Yes.
Because being a business owner, it's very like hustle grind, man.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes I gotta
Has
get
to
that
be.
man stuff off of me. So I'll do a tea time, or a spa,
Uh-huh.
and if the money's right, I'll hop on a plane and go somewhere, even if it's just for a few days of reset and just sitting in the sun. Because
Mm.
it's interesting. I'm born in the winter, but I'm not a fan of the winter. I'm not a fan of cold weather. So sitting in the sun, sitting at a pool, sitting on a beach, that's a good, perfect reset for me. Reading a book, always be learning, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's my form of self-care. Nothing, nothing too crazy.
Right, right. Is it something that you do like in your weekly schedule, or is it something that you do every once in a while when you
I would say more like quarterly.
okay.
I have my
Right.
quarterly resets.
Got it.
Um, there was a point in time where I could do maybe like a every other week visit to a museum. But things get busy
Hmm.
and you just gotta if you don't put it on your calendar, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
That's what I've learned because my calendar is nuts. So if I don't put it on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So I've gotten better about scheduling out and saying, all right, let's look at what's the next quarterly thing I'm going to do. Just check out for a few days. So
Yeah.
I've scheduled those out until like mid next year.
Uh-huh.
So
Good.
I,
Good for
something
you.
to look forward to. Something
Yes.
to you know, on those tough days, those grind days, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm ready to just throw it all away. You're like, calm down. You got a break. It's on your
Coming up.
calendar. It's coming up. Let's just get through, this valley, as they say, and then you can have your mountaintop moment.
Yeah.
Valleys, mountain, valley, mountain. That's life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that balance.
I like that. I like that you schedule it ahead of time. So you know it's coming up and you put it on your schedules because if it's not on your schedule is going to be filled with something. So
Immediately.
you got to put it in a place so it holds that space for you. So great idea. Great idea. Well, okay, Tessa, it's been beautiful speaking with you. I appreciate all of the great information you shared with us. And to close out, we always ask a couple of personal questions, fun things, so our audience gets to know Tessa, the person. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what was your favorite childhood game?
Gosh, I had so many. I was a spoiled child. I was a spoiled child. I had everything. So, child, I would say probably Atari, and I'm dating myself now.
Okay.
But like Pac-Man and
Yes, yes.
arcade games where you
Uh-huh.
can kind of check out of reality and go into an alternate world. I think, yeah, those are my favorite games to play.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I want to go. I have this desire to go to the Middle East right now.
Okay.
Um, they're being so innovative, and I'm fascinated about what their big plans are for what they're building.
Uh-huh.
Like I say that I call myself a futurist. I feel like they're thinking like George Jetson on steroids.
Right.
I want to go see that live and in person. Like I've been blessed to be able to travel. I've been to Europe, I've been to Africa, but I've never been to the Middle East.
Okay. Wonderful. If you can have a conversation with anyone from the past, who would you choose and why?
I've always been fascinated by Madam C.J. Walker.
Ah,
Um, just being a Black woman entrepreneur, and she was doing the daggone thing, right?
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
see these pictures of her driving in these fancy cars with her big hats, and she was just different, right?
Uh-huh.
And in a time that was different than ours
Yeah.
now, right? To be
Yeah.
bold like that, I mean, that's another level of bold that she
Right.
was. So
Yeah.
I would love, and she was born in December like me, so I just relate to her. I would love to have a conversation with her just to figure out where that boldness came from, what it was like to just be driving
Right.
around with her big but yeah, she's inspiring to me.
Wonderful, wonderful. What is your favorite food or meal?
I'm a fan of breakfast food. I love eggs. I think it's because that's the first thing I learned how to cook. And sorry, I didn't learn how to cook a lot of things. I can order really well. I can set
Uh-huh.
up. But yeah, definitely a good breakfast. I can eat breakfast all day, all night. I can eat cereal for dinner. I'm just a breakfast girl.
Okay. Okay. And the final question, what do you want to be remembered for?
Um, like I said, I was a cheerleader growing up, and I just want to be remembered for that person that uplifted others, right? Like she was the one that encouraged me, right?
Hmm.
She was the one when I was having a bad day. She came in, she said a few jokes, I laughed, and I forgot about what my issues were.
Hmm.
She inspired me to be a business owner. She inspired me to take a break, go on vacation. Like that's what I want to be remembered for, the one that was always encouraging, people to just put themselves first.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Thank you. All right. Well, again, thank you for being here with us today and all the great things you shared with us. It was lovely hearing about your beautiful dreams of the future and your plans for your business and what you currently do now in your business. I think it's very unique and definitely needed. So thank you. And before we close out, though, I want to give you a chance to tell our listeners where and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way would be to visit our website because our website has, all of our contact information, even on socials nowadays. So my website is asset, dash MC.com. Asset is Tessa spelled backwards. By
Ah,
the way, that's what,
okay.
why I named that
Okay.
business that. Yeah. So yeah, online, check us out on our website. and come holler at us on Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite social media platform and where I'm the busiest.
Okay, great. We would definitely be checking you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a great evening.
Check out our website for the great merchandise we've designed with you in mind, for encouragement, for blessing, for standing in your power as a woman of color in business. Great gifts for you and any businesswoman you know. You can also now hear our podcast on Amazon. So you can do a search for the Women of Color in Business podcast, and you'll be able to listen to all episodes there also. We appreciate your support and look forward to serving you. Thank you so much for joining us for another great episode. We hope you're taking with you some inspiration and great information. Be sure to follow, like, and rate our podcast 5 stars. Also, share it with other women of color in business that you know. Drop by the website at www.wocib.org and join our mailing list. We look forward to building a great sisterhood with you. Be well.